What it do, ladies and gentlemen? This is Triple DS. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. This is a Week 12 Thanksgiving edition of the weekly pick'ems on this channel. Last week, as a unit, you guys went 8-6 in the pick'ems. Meanwhile, I went 11-3. That brings my totals to 110-53, and you guys to 96-67. So there's only 7 weeks left in the regular season. You guys gotta do something fast. Y'all gotta catch up. But you know what? It's your boy, so you know your boy's gonna do rather well, because your boy likes to talk about the NFL. I don't know why I keep saying it's your boy, but here we are. For the most part, outside of the upset that was the Detroit Lions taking care of the New York Giants, more or less the only ones that we all got wrong were kind of like 50-50 games, like, you know, between the Bears and the Falcons. That could have gone either way. Week 12 will mark the first time since I think week 5 that every single team in the NFL is playing this week. So I've got 16 games to pick, and I'm planning on going 16-0 this time, ladies and gentlemen. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and begin with the first Thanksgiving game. The Buffalo Bills go into Detroit to take on the Lions in Ford Field. Buffalo is back once again in Ford Field. This time they are the away team. Don't look now, but the Detroit Lions are the hotter team among the two. That sounds crazy to say in the 2022 season. I'm telling you, when Swift and St. Brown are healthy, this offense looks way different. Even without Hawkinson, they're getting it done offensively, and the defense has stepped it up just a little bit. People are slowly starting to sleep on the Buffalo Bills, and I think that's an absolutely nutty thing to think about, because the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen can truly beat any team in the NFL. The key is for Josh Allen to down his turnovers, which is what he did last week, hence their dominant win. I'm aware that the Detroit Lions have a bit of a winning streak going, and hell, if they win, damn, look out for that 7th slot in the playoffs come January. Unfortunately for the Lions and for everyone there, Buffalo will come into Ford Field and win 2 in a row in Ford Field, as I have the Bills taking this one on the road. They will jump up to 8-3. Meanwhile, the Lions will put up a valiant effort, at least offensively, but drop to 4-8. The second Thanksgiving game features 2 NFC East teams that are both 7-3 in the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. Just when you wanted to count the Cowboys out when they lost to the Green Bay Packers, they stomped the ever-living daylights out of the Minnesota Vikings last week. 40-3 is as dominant of a win that we have seen thus far this year. Now they're playing at home, and in comes Saquon Barkley and the rest of the New York Giants. It was actually a rather close game between these two when they first met up a few weeks back. The edge went to the Cowboys there, and the Giants, I'll be honest, they looked better before. Now teams are finding a way to slow Saquon down a little bit, and that's not saying too much because he's still getting his numbers. But I don't know. Between the two, I believe Dallas is more of the scarier team among them. The Giants are coming off of an ugly loss themselves when they lost to the Lions last week. So things are not looking well for Big Blue, and I don't think they have enough firepower to keep up with the Cowboys offense. Vice versa, I think the Cowboys defense will do enough to stuff Saquon in the line of scrimmage and make the day miserable for Daniel Jones on Turkey Day. For these reasons, I have the Cowboys jumping up to 8-3. The Giants will fall to 7-4. Up next is the Thanksgiving night game with the New England Patriots taking on the Minnesota Vikings. It was an ugly showing offensively for both teams. However, the Patriots were able to come away with the win. Meanwhile, the Vikings, well, we've already talked about what happened to the Vikings last week. 40-3, oh my god. For these reasons, I will only leave this picture up, ladies and gentlemen, for the rest of this segment. There we go. Give it a little space. There we go. Nice. Now, the New England Patriots still have a bit of a question mark at their quarterback position. Yes, they won last week, but it was just a field goal that the offense produced. They won because of a kick return. So the question marks do remain against these guys. Now, the Minnesota Vikings. This may seem like it's not that big of a difference, or it shouldn't be that big of a difference, but the Vikings only 2 losses. Yes, they were manhandled in both games with the Cowboys and the Eagles, but there's one key ingredient that both teams had, and that is a #1 cornerback to shadow Justin Jefferson. It seems like if you take Justin Jefferson out of the game, Kirk Cousins just can't throw it all willy-nilly. Even with Hawkinson as another option, even with Thielen there, even with Osborne there, even with Dalvin Cook in the backfield. If you take out Justin Jefferson, the Vikings look like a completely different team. Look, maybe the Patriots don't have a Darius Slay or a Trayvon Diggs on their team, but you know what? I believe in Bill Belichick's scheme calling abilities, and I believe in them enough that I think that they will take out Justin Jefferson in this game. For these reasons, I do have the New England Patriots taking this one. It's going to be an ugly one. I'd say it's going to be like a 20-17 kind of game. But yes, I have New England taking this one on the road. They will jump up to 7-4. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Vikings drop to 8-3. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have the Denver Broncos taking on the Carolina Panthers. Look, guys, for the record, if there is two bad teams, and not even like bad in a fun way, like it's 1-8 versus 0-9 or something like that, but if there's two bad teams with not really any hope to make the playoffs, I'm just gonna put this up there. So this is all you're really gonna see, because I just don't care about these games. And I'm sorry to the fans of these teams, but you guys can understand that what difference does it make if your team wins or loses other than your draft selection, you know, next year. But yes, the Denver Broncos on paper clearly should not be 3-7. The Carolina Panthers, however, are right on the money. This is exactly how most expected this team to go. I will give Steve Wilks all the credit where credit is due. He is doing a lot with what he has to work with after trading CMC, after trading Robbie Anderson, after going through a carousel of quarterbacks, a carousel of first round quarterbacks. Now this week, Sam Darnold finally gets his chance to start, and he's going against one of the tougher defenses in the NFL. And I believe Sam Darnold will see some ghosts against this Denver defense. Meanwhile, the Denver Broncos, with no Melvin Gordon, push forward to see what they can accomplish, and I think they have a legit chance of winning this one and jumping up to 4 wins. The Broncos have enough talent on defense and have just enough on offense to come away with this one. The Broncos will win this one. They will jump up to 4-7. The Panthers will drop to 3-9. Up next, we have the Tampa Bay Bucks taking on the Cleveland Browns. This will be Jacoby Brissett's final game as a starter, as next week rejected returns, controversy and all. The Browns will have their work cut out for them, because this is divorced Tom Brady, and divorced Tom Brady is 2-0, ladies and gentlemen. He will come into Cleveland and try to dominate the dog pound here. Nick Chubb will have a decent showing, and similar to what I said whenever the Browns lose, yes, he'll have a good game, but by the time he really can get things going, the Browns will fall behind enough where they have no choice but to pass. And Jacoby Brissett, although playing valiantly, especially with Amari Cooper, you know, actually running wild as of late, I do believe there's enough talent on defense to keep them in check, and Tom Brady will find either Julio, Mike Evans, or Godwin, and they will get this done on the road. I have the Tampa Bay Bucks taking this one, jumping up to 6-3. Meanwhile, the Browns drop to 3-8, and that man from Houston has his work cut out for him when he returns. Up next is the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Lamar Jackson has been struggling as of late, but I think this is the perfect tune-up game for them, because the Jaguars, outside of a really good stretch at the beginning, have looked like the same bungling Jaguars that we've known for the past 5 years. Trevor Lawrence is playing decent, but he's not yet playing to the round 1 pick 1 standards. We keep talking so much about Zach Wilson. When are we going to start talking about Trevor Lawrence? For the simple fact that the Jaguars look like a shell of what they once were just a few weeks ago, there is no reason that the Baltimore Ravens don't win on offense, defense, and special teams. I have the Ravens taking this one rather dominantly as they jump up to 8-3. Meanwhile, the Jaguars drop to a putrid 3-8 and start to already, well, this probably started a few weeks ago, but are looking towards the draft, looking towards next year in Doug Peterson's year 2. Oh man, another one, y'all. Oh my goodness. The Houston Texans take on the Miami Dolphins, y'all. I'm going to be very, very, very quick with this one. Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, that entire offensive line, Raheem Mostert, their defense, which is underrated, outside of a trap game. This isn't even a divisional game. Outside of a trap game, y'all. Miami will dominate this game and pull their starters out by the third quarter. Dolphins win, jump to 8-3. The Texans fall to 1-9-1. We will not waste another second of time outside of my words, which I seem to not be able to finish until now. Up next, we have the Chicago Bears taking on the New York Jets. The records don't reflect it, but Justin Fields is coming alive. Meanwhile, Zach Wilson seems to be struggling from a performance standpoint and from an attitude standpoint. I was watching Get Up this morning and they were comparing him to Ryan Leaf. Is he really at Ryan Leaf levels? I don't think Ryan Leaf ever had a winning record, but that's just me. The Bears have the #1 rushing attack in the NFL. However, they have the 32nd ranked passing attack. Now, Justin Fields is doing what he can, and yes, maybe he's not the best thrower out there, but who is he throwing to? David Montgomery? Cole Kmet? Daryl Mooney? Are these top all-star pass catchers? I don't think so. So until the Bears get some sort of relief in the passing game, they will continue to run it on the ground with Fields or Montgomery or the guy who's replacing Khalil Herbert. So the question, or the X factor I should say, comes down to Zach Wilson. So I have Zach Wilson and the rest of the Jets taking this one against the Bears. The Jets will jump up to 7-4, meanwhile the Bears drop to 3-9, but again, that record really doesn't reflect how well Justin Fields has actually been playing. Alright, up next we have the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Tennessee Titans. In the divisional round of the playoffs last year, the Cincinnati Bengals stunned the Tennessee Titans after Ryan Tannehill coughed it up 3 times in the air. The edge for Ryan Tannehill is that he actually has a much healthier Derrick Henry, because Derrick Henry was coming off of an injury where he had been laid off for about a month and a half, and then he returned to play against the Bengals. I think that will make a difference. I think a big key will be if Jamar Chase is playing, even if he's just a decoy for the game. I think that the Titans will have to respect what he's capable of. And even without Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine proved that he is a capable backup. I am going to roll the dice once again, ladies and gentlemen, and I think the Bengals will come away with this one on the road. They're actually getting pretty hot as of late, and I think this will continue into Tennessee. Give me the Bengals jumping up to 7-4, injuries and all, and the Tennessee Titans themselves drop to 7-4. Up next, we have the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Washington Commanders. I keep saying this about the Atlanta team. Defense, yes, they're trash. Offense is streaky. I feel like when the offense is doing well as they can play, or as well as they've been playing, when they win, they could genuinely keep up with most teams. On the flip side, Taylor Heineke brings such a moxie, such a swagger to this Washington team, and you can't help but root for this guy. Just look how emotional he got when he was talking about becoming the full-time starter from here on out. Like, it's his job to lose now.
We worked so hard for this opportunity, and you know, it's a dream come true. So every week I just approach it like it's my last week playing, and try to have fun with it.
A bit emotional for you.
Yeah, you know, it's, again, I've been dreaming about this my whole life.
Like, Carson Wentz is healthy, y'all, just for the record. The Commanders will be getting Chase Young back this week, from what I've seen. The pressure that the Commanders bring will be enough to take out Marcus Mariota out of his rhythm, out of his funk, to get anything going. For these reasons, and because Heineke keeps them moving when it matters, I have the Commanders taking this one as they jump up to 7-5. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Falcons drop to 5-7, pushing themselves more and more away from the Tampa Bay Bucks in the NFC South crown. Up next is a couple of disappointing teams in the 5-5 Chargers taking on the 4-7 Cardinals. For the most part, the Chargers were in it against the Chiefs on Sunday night, but they just couldn't pull away with a win. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen had returned, yes, but Mike Williams once again was out for the rest of the game. Nonetheless, even with Allen just back, it felt like it was a completely different team. And yes, I know Palmer's the one that went off, but that's because they were focusing more on Williams and Allen throughout the game. Both teams desperately need a win to stay alive in this AFC/NFC hunt for the playoffs. And look, since Call of Duty's come out, Kyler Murray has not played. Is there a correlation, or is it just a coincidence? Although I'm 99% sure it's just a coincidence, you can't help but laugh at the fact that this guy, of course, when Call of Duty comes out, He's hurt. He's hurt. Hey, what are the odds, right? What are the odds? All jokes aside, the Chargers should have enough firepower on offense, especially if Allen remains healthy and if Mike Williams returns. I haven't checked if he's out for indefinite time or not. On defense, with Khalil Mack and Derwin James running the show, the Cardinals, outside of DeAndre Hopkins, should probably struggle in this one. Connor may have a touchdown here and there, but even with Murray, I will take the Chargers taking this one on the road. They will jump back over 500 to 6-5. Meanwhile, the Cardinals drop to a putrid 4-8. Alright, up next we have the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks, who were the surprise of the NFC this year, finally have competition in the 49ers for the NFC West crown. I do believe that they're both tied right now. Yes, they are both tied at 6-4. Just check my notes right here. Devontae Adams is doing everything in his power to keep the Raiders alive in some sort of way, shape, or form. And I think that continues as far as his dominance on the field goes, because the Seahawks, yes, their offense is on fire, but their defense has been sus from the beginning. I'm calling for a shootout because Devontae Adams, Derek Carr, and Josh Jacobs will go off in this one. And on the flip side, the Seahawks with Metcalf, Lockett, Noah Fant, and that running back K9. I think that's his nickname. If not, I'm so sorry about that. And of course, the comeback player of the year, my comeback player of the year, Geno Smith, will be locked in on offense as well. I'm calling for a shootout, but I am going to give an edge to the 12th man. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the Seahawks winning this one. They will jump up to 7-4, and the Raiders continue their struggling woes, dropping to 3-8. Okay, guys, look. Up next is, yes, the Rams versus the Chiefs. Had you asked me this last year, I think this would have been one of the most exciting games coming up in the calendar year. The Chiefs have lived up to the hype, but the Rams, blech. That's the best way I can put it in my professional opinion. Similar to the Texans and Dolphins game, y'all, I don't want to spend too much time on this one. The Chiefs, I think, are the hottest team in the NFL. You know what? I'm sorry, Philly fans. I'm sorry, Minnesota fans, Dallas fans, Buffalo fans, Miami fans. The Chiefs are the hottest team in the NFL right now. And I don't see them slowing down for a defense that has pretty much accepted that one Super Bowl was it. And I don't think it'll slow down for a concussed Matthew Stafford with no Cooper Kupp, a waived Darrell Henderson. I think they're starting to look towards the future, y'all. And outside of, once again, any given Sunday, there's no reason the Chiefs shouldn't win this one. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes will get their 9th win of the year, jumping up to 9-2. Meanwhile, the Rams drop to a flailing 3-8. Up next is the New Orleans Saints taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are peaking at the perfect time. They were struggling at the beginning of the year, but are getting hotter and hotter as the season progresses. I think that is the big difference that CMC brings to the table. It also helps when Kittle and Debo are 100% healthy, although with them, you can never say 100% healthy. So while all things are clicking for the San Francisco 49ers, the same cannot be said for the New Orleans Saints. They have been so up and down, more down than up, and it doesn't seem to matter if you're starting Dalton, you're starting Jameis. It doesn't seem like things are just meshing. Sometimes the offense plays well, but the defense doesn't. Sometimes the defense plays well, but the offense doesn't. Sorry, y'all. I think I see an ant in my light, and that's very, very annoying. For the 49ers, because they have things rolling right now, and they have enough firepower on offense with CMC, Jimmy G, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, and everyone else, I don't think the Saints have enough to overcome that. The 49ers will take this one at home, jumping up to 7-4. Meanwhile, the Saints drop to 4-8. Alright, we have our Sunday night game where the Green Bay Packers take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, most people are saying, you know what, Philly wins, next, let's move on. But let's wait a second. Let's just hold up just for 1 second. They've already beaten an NFC East team in the past couple of weeks. What's to stop them from doing it again? How different is this Green Bay Packers team from 2 weeks ago? Watson for the Packers seems to be like he's developing into a much better receiver. That's an excellent sign if you're a Packers fan. Maybe not for this year, but moving forward, you know, you might have something there. And then if you got Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon building momentum, you could have a recipe for, you know, an upset victory. I feel like the Eagles are built similar to the Cowboys, but they are just a little bit different. The pass rush of the Cowboys, dominant. But the defensive backs, the back end of the Eagles is the most dominant in my opinion. Don't get it twisted. I think Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, etc., even without Dallas Goedert, will come away with this one because they have just overall the much better team on offense and defense. But because of how well the Packers have been playing as of late, I know they lost last week, you can't count them out necessarily. I think this is going to be a much closer game than most people anticipate. But as close as it is, I cannot pick against the Eagles. They will jump up to 10-1, leaving the Packers to fall to 4-8. Alright, and then we have Monday Night Football between Pittsburgh Steelers and the Indianapolis Colts. Pittsburgh actually showed some promise on offense last week against the Bengals. They actually put up a decent amount of points, but they did ultimately come away with a loss. So give credit where credit is due. Najee Harris has been playing a little bit better than how he has been all year, although that's not saying much. Meanwhile, for the Indianapolis Colts, Jeff Saturday, maybe he doesn't have the coaching experience per se, but he does bring this aura about him that makes guys want to be motivated. You know, the first thing that did help was putting Matt Ryan back in, and I think that they have been playing much better, especially with Jonathan Taylor being a little more healthier. Look, overall, I want to believe that the Colts just ever so slightly, and I think it's just because of Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman, have a slightly better team overall than the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, between the two coaches, it's not even close who I would rather have. No offense to Jeff Saturday, I think he's done a phenomenal job with what his experience has given him. I think that this will come down to the coaches. And I think Mike Tomlin will thoroughly outcoach Jeff Saturday in this one. He will game plan something just well enough for things to work in Pittsburgh's way. For these reasons, I have the Steelers taking this one on the road. Pittsburgh jumps to 4-7. The Colts drop to 4-7-1. And that's gonna do it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for watching. If this is your first time on the channel, feel free to drop a like, comment, subscribe, turn those notifications on. If you want to participate in the voting, all you have to do is follow my IG. There's a link down below, and I'm sure at some point I put it up here. All you have to do is make sure you're following me, and when the time comes, vote on every single game. Details are pinned on a post on my Instagram page, and should you have more questions, feel free to DM me. Let's have a great week 12, y'all, and until next time, shaboy! 16-0, baby!